Hello and welcome to the Future of Healthy Homes, a Salt Lake Home Builders continuing education series presentation sponsored by Velux. First and foremost, we would like to thank you for your valuable time to take this course. I'm Paul Brown, Architect Specialist with Velux, your host for today. Basically, what I'm going to show you today is a practical healthcare program for your future homes and for the homeowners who will be living in them. This course will give any Salt Lake HBA member a 1-hour professional credit toward your DOPL license renewal for those who have signed up for the continuing education program. The material is worth watching whether you need the credit or not. This material is copyrighted, but our hope is that after the presentation, you will find this information useful and want it on hand. If you'd like a copy of the presentation, please ask, and we'll be more than happy to provide it for you. Through this course, you will learn how daylight and fresh air contribute to both an ideal indoor climate as well as the design trends we're seeing in modern homes today. We'll also talk about how daylight and fresh air through skylights can help with overall energy efficiency and creating healthier living conditions. These are the course objectives, and they'll give you an idea of how the course will play out. First, we'll go over how daylight and fresh air affect your home's occupants and contribute to an overall healthy home. Then, we'll transition into how the use of skylights can increase these benefits in modern residential design trends. We'll round out the course with some design inspiration in the form of three-dimensional renderings. Let us now begin the presentation and turn our attention toward daylight in residential design. What is daylighting? It's a combination of all direct and indirect daylight. And when we say daylight, we specifically mean light that originates from the sun during the day. Daylighting is a component that is old as architecture itself, and it's been a primary source of interior lighting for centuries. And even with artificial lighting, we find in a study after study that natural lighting is superior, particularly in terms of clarity and glare prevention. And while electric light sources can match a certain spectrum with daylight closely, none has been able to mimic the variation in the light spectrum that occurs with daylight at different times, in different seasons, and under different weather conditions. In terms of homeowner benefits, daylighting reduces dependency on electric lighting while providing an array of health and comfort benefits. There are 3 different forms through which daylight can be delivered: direct sunlight, diffuse sunlight, and reflective sunlight. Light from the sky, or top lighting when we're referring to skylights, is going to impact our residents more directly compared to the mostly reflective light that comes in through vertical windows. In other words, skylights bring in more light, usually twice the amount of similar-sized vertical windows, and 3 times as much as dormer windows. Skylights also have a higher wall luminance, resulting in a softer transition between the high luminance from the side windows. Here we could see a better example of how top lighting works with facade lighting to distribute more daylight into central rooms and other darkened areas. One of the main challenges of designing with natural light is its inconsistency. As the sun travels across the sky, the level of direct lighting may exceed functional demands. So, in some designs, reflective lighting through skylights is a more effective way to fill the space with natural light without causing harsh glare or unnecessary heat gains for homeowners. Light distribution via stairwell. This is especially true if you're working on the redesign of an older building where functional areas tended to be smaller and more closed off. Internal distribution of rooms and hallways may limit the availability of daylight. In these cases, rethink the areas where rooms or corridors connect one part of the home to another. This connecting space can act as a vehicle for distributing daylight to a larger part of the home. An open stairwell is also a perfect vehicle for venting large amounts of air. Staircases, well designed, allow the stack effect to build and flush the inside air of a whole house when windows and doors are open on multiple floors. Studies have proven that skylights will deliver 2 to 3 times more daylight than vertical windows and for more hours of the day because of their direct orientation to the sky. More importantly, they are very effective at delivering natural light to the core of the space where daylight from vertical windows does not reach, especially windows that face north. And there's a lot of living going on at the core of our homes. A perfect example is a single-story home built after 1980 where the living area is open and consists of the living room, dining area, and kitchen. The kitchen is almost always placed away from the exterior walls towards the middle of the house and barely receives natural light from the vertical windows in those walls. We adults spend most of our waking hours in the kitchen. Using the sun for the light during the day is working smarter, not harder. And when properly selected and installed, energy-efficient skylights can help minimize heating, cooling, and lighting costs in a home. In a study on daylighting, artificial lighting, and non-visual effects for residential buildings, one group of scientists found that increased daylight in a home is estimated to reduce the need for artificial lighting by 16 to 20%. These images come from the Building Institute study conducted in Denmark, where they ran lighting simulations to show the importance of skylights in delivering adequate lighting to the core of the building. In this first example, we're seeing a 20% GFA, glazing the floor area, which is quite high. This is the max allowed by most energy codes, but as you can see, the daylight factor at the center of the room is very small, only just over 2%. The light around the perimeter is good, but the Illuminating Engineering Society has determined you need a daylight factor of at least 5% to have a comfortable visual environment for reading. While the outside of the room may be brighter, that 2.4% in the middle is very substandard. To try and up the light in the middle of the room of our simulation, let's see what happens when we add more vertical windows and doors. Here we've got a 50% increase in glazing from the last simulation, but we've only increased our daylight factor by 0.2%. Not energy efficient. Not a high enough daylight factor throughout the entire room. The final study reduced the vertical glazing by more than half, yet still maintained an aesthetically pleasing exterior while maintaining views, and skylights were added above to give the space a 10% glazing the floor area, while exponentially raising the daylight factor to 6.5%, or 65 foot candles. This is a 65% reduction in glass from the previous study, yet tripling the foot candles at the core of the space. This now is a highly naturally lit space and highly energy efficient. So you can see the daylight challenge of increasing daylight performance while reducing glass to the floor ratio can only be done with skylights. Once again, the example on the left shows a lot more windows, but the core of the home is still not well lit. You are also using 30% glass area here, which is not energy efficient. The sample on the right shows less vertical window space, but the addition of the skylights brings more light to the core of the home while drastically lowering the window to floor percentage. Over the next few slides, we will see more examples of how natural light is dispersed throughout spaces with the vertical windows and skylights. It's pretty easy to see light distribution in a square empty room. So let's apply what the Danish Building Institute found to a real-life application, like a typical primary bathroom in the US. Picture windows over the tub have been very common in US primary baths since the 1980s. But what the image on the left shows is that the window here really only provides good daylight to the tub area. A window here could also cause privacy and ventilation issues. On the other hand, a skylight over the tub, like we see in the image on the right, gets you at least 30 foot candles throughout the entire space. So how does daylight play into the idea of healthy homes? Quite a bit. When we substitute artificial lighting for natural light, we sacrifice a host of health benefits. Seasonal affective disorder. Experts estimate up to 30% of the world's population suffers from different levels of SAD, seasonal affective disorder. Natural light is a well-known morale booster, and exposure to daylight above 1,000 lux has shown to help with clinical and seasonal depression symptoms. improve eye health and acuity. Our eyes were designed to see in natural light. With less glare and fewer angled shadows, we see better in natural light than we do in artificial light, especially as we get older. With the larger variation of light levels too, skylights increase the visual interest of the space. Balanced circadian rhythms. Natural light has an acute effect on our cognitive function and sleep. Regular exposure helps keep our circadian sleep-wake cycle in proper alignment, which is essential for maintaining good cognitive function. According to the Harvard School of Public Health study and report, there are 9 foundations of a healthy building. These apply to buildings that have no smoking policy inside and within 20 feet of the building. Another component of a healthy building is an active design, one that incorporates design elements that promote and encourage activity. For the sake of this objective, our main focus will be on lighting and views, and later on we'll talk about ventilation and air quality. Some of the parts of this foundation will be up to the homeowner, but as an architect, you can provide more daylighting options while also incorporating nature into your designs with skylights. As we talked about this objective, what we're trying to achieve is consistent, efficient light distribution around the home. And for our eye health, daylight is the best kind of light to achieve that. With skylight shades, you can also offer light control to help owners achieve point 4. And skylights can even be used to task lighting. Sun tunnels or tubular skylights direct daylight down like a spotlight for clear, focused light. Another healthy home factor affected by daylight is thermal comfort, an important indicator of a healthy building. Thermal comfort in homes is most greatly affected by building types and climates. The important thing to remember here is it's best to address thermal comfort from the very beginning of your design. Like human health, it's easier to build a healthy home and maintain it than it is to make a sick home better. The Maison et Luminaire was built as part of the Velux Model Home 2020 project and is a good example of using skylights to achieve thermal comfort. While the high daylight levels in the house increase the risk of overheating, you can see through the chart that the house still achieves an excellent performance in thermal comfort because it's designed to take maximum advantage of natural ventilation and to use shading and window openings to their full potential.
In 160 seconds, you will decide how this story ends. This is a story about us, the indoor generation. A generation that spends 90% of its life indoors. It all started the day we left nature behind. We filled our homes with lovely things and all the stuff we wanted. Our homes became places you would never want to leave. Artificial light replaced daylight, and we built our houses so that nothing could escape. We cooked and showered, breathed and played, slept and sweated. But we had closed ourselves in to a point where nothing could get out. So when the air turned bad inside, we tried fixing it with chemicals. And we put in little artificial suns everywhere to make the darkness bearable. That's when things started to happen. Hard to notice in the beginning. Some needed help to sleep, to breathe, to not itch. Many of us even started to feel sad. So we turned on happy lamps to make the sadness go away. Then, scientists discovered that the air inside our homes is up to 5 times more polluted than the air outside. And learned that the lack of daylight can affect children's learning and increase blood pressure. It turns out that kids' rooms often have the highest concentration of toxicants in the house. In fact, millions of homes are unhealthy to live in. They discovered that living in damp and moldy homes increases the risk of asthma by 40%. And I learned that millions of people like me suffer from asthma and allergies caused by a bad indoor environment. And so, here we are. How the story ends is up to you, because it's not written yet. If you care about the indoor generation, do something. Begin to think and live differently. Let light and fresh air into your life again. Even small changes can make a huge difference for coming generations. Learn how at theindoorgeneration.com.
The second objective, fresh air. These are the important points I'll discuss in this section. Natural ventilation, indoor air quality, the stack and/or chimney effect, whole home airing. While fresh air and natural ventilation are important design components, they're not always given the proper attention. We can see the evidence of this in how we initially handle energy efficiency, by designing tighter and tighter homes that don't allow for proper airflow from the outside. This affected indoor air quality, but we're learning through concepts like the stack and/or chimney effect and whole home airing, how to find the balance between natural ventilation and energy efficiency. The World Health Organization estimates that 30% of the buildings in the United States experience indoor air quality problems, in part due to the push for greater energy efficiency. Poor air indoor quality can make our buildings sick, and sick building syndrome can make us sick. High levels of CO2 create dizziness and headaches. Moldy environments increase risk of developing asthma by 40%, and high humidity, microparticles, and gases like radon can lead to severe health problems. And this isn't always something the homeowner can detect. Some air pollutants are a little more obvious. CO2, for example, has an odor at high levels. Other pollutants like radon, formaldehyde, dust, and microscopic particles from electronic appliances are far more difficult to detect. The only way to deal with these issues is to replace the exhaust air with fresh air. In other words, to ventilate. The best way to naturally ventilate is via venting skylight, the stack effect. The stack effect and/or chimney effect is nature's highly effective way to vent a building, naturally. We know warm air rises, and venting skylights placed on the roof help release hot, moist, polluted air that gets trapped at the ceiling level. When venting skylights from above and/or vertical windows and doors that are below are opened at the same time, the hot air escapes through the venting skylights and cool, fresh air comes through the windows and doors. Airing homes through the stack effect accelerates the air change rate, thereby removing the hot, polluted air faster and more efficiently. Studies have proven that the stack effect driven through venting skylights reduces cooling loads naturally. In this animation, we can see the various types of natural ventilation through exterior openings. First, the opening of a window or a skylight. This creates a circular movement and only vents the area surrounding the opening. Second, shows cross ventilation, more effective than the first, but both rely on wind from the outside, and neither effectively rid the space of the warm, moist, polluted air at the ceiling. Third, the stack effect.
My name is Jeff Day. I'm the architect that designed the Vernings home here in St. Jacob, Illinois. The role of daylight and fresh air in this home is huge. It's really the biggest impact that you can have on how you live inside of a home. The day lighting it's not only free light, but it's the best lighting for your eyes. We want to have fresh air in a home like this because we have a tight building envelope, so we have to find the best ways to bring in that fresh air. In this case, we're talking about two of the people living in the home, a daughter and the mother, have allergies, and so we have to be sure that we balance all that out. If you have a tight building envelope, it can hold in all kinds of bacteria and things if it's not filtrated properly and you get enough fresh air balanced with that. The importance of the skylights are that they can open up and give what's called the chimney effect. Heat inherently wants to rise. We have a lot of vaulted areas in this house, so that air just stays up high and wants to be stagnant up there, but it affects your heating and cooling. If we can open the skylights and some of the windows that are in the walls, that gives us this chimney effect where we're bringing in fresh air when need be, and we're pushing the warm air out through the skylights.
I think that having natural light in the home creates a happier environment for us as a family and to raise our two girls.
To give you an idea of what sort of numbers we're looking at, scientists look at CO2 levels, which is the #1 pollutant in our homes, as the best indicator of air quality in the homes. Outside air contains about 440 parts per million of CO2. That's also the minimum we want to see for indoor CO2 concentration. In very tight homes, however, it's not uncommon to see CO2 levels over 1,200 parts per million. Cooking, for example, typically raises CO2 levels by 200 to 900 parts per million. Couples who sleep in a room with the door closed have woken up to CO2 levels exceeding 1,000 parts per million. And believe it or not, it's not the turkey that makes us tired after a Thanksgiving meal. Evidence shows it's the increase in CO2 levels that come from a larger amount of people gathering in a small space. But natural ventilation through vertical windows and skylights can help combat rising CO2 levels and improve indoor air quality. Moisture or humidity levels are another indicator of indoor air quality. Most of the moisture in indoor air comes from the activities like cleaning, cooking, and bathing. Human respiration plays a part, but activity levels have a much bigger effect on the humidity levels. The typical activity levels of a family of 4 corresponds to emptying a large bucket of water on the floor every day. So it's not hard to have indoor air with higher moisture levels than outdoor air. How do we achieve good air indoor quality? Through venting skylights. This chart shows the comparison between homes without natural ventilation and the model home with a venting skylight at the code-based energy efficiency level. Group 14 Engineering, a Denver-based consulting firm specializing in energy and resource efficiency solutions, found these results about contaminant concentration of indoor air in residential buildings. Contaminant source dilution 15 times faster in homes with natural ventilation. Venting skylights, via the stack effect, dilute contaminant concentration to normal levels in 3 hours. Homes without natural ventilation almost take up to 2 days to dilute to normal levels. What is an airing? An airing is a short period with high ventilation rate due to 2 or more open windows, skylights, or doors. Venting skylights can be especially helpful with whole home airing because they are a built-in reminder to air out the home. Based on information from various studies, 2 to 4 airings per day is best for optimum indoor air quality. Additionally, today sensor-driven skylight operation is available for venting skylights so homeowners can automate their home airings based on personal preferences or occupancy and activity levels without having to think about it. Now, let's shift the focus of this objective slightly to human health and comfort and how the homes we design influence both. Daylight affects the production of hormones, neurotransmitters, and vitamins. By helping keep their levels balanced, daylight can increase our ability to perform physically and intellectually. Exposure to changing light levels and the circadian rhythm are important to the production of melatonin. This is especially important as melatonin is what helps us sleep better. Our human sensory system is unable to register most harmful air pollutants in an indoor environment. This fact helps illustrate why it's so important to design healthier homes instead of counting on homeowners to know when their homes have become unhealthy. Most homeowners are surprised to find out indoor air can be more polluted, up to 5 times more polluted from studies conducted than outside air, and it's because of the dangers aren't always so obvious. Continuous ventilation and frequent airing can help prevent headaches, dizziness, allergies, and respiratory diseases. Optimal sleeping conditions require complete darkness and a bedroom temperature as low as 60 degrees Fahrenheit. There's also evidence to suggest that a continuous drop in temperatures throughout the night is best for sleeping conditions, but it's generally agreed cooler air leads to better sleep. Variations in indoor temperature can help activate the human metabolism. This can help facilitate a more active and healthier indoor lifestyle. Now that we have an idea of their effect on homeowners, let's get more specific into what a healthy home looks like. In many ways, a healthy indoor environment resembles being outside on a mild summer's day. Skylights, as part of a healthy home, bring in daylight and fresh air to give residents the full body treatment. Daylight and fresh air create optimal natural lighting, adequate air humidity, minimal amounts of CO2, microdust particles, and allergens. Healthy home residents see an improvement in physical and mental health. They are less susceptible to respiratory diseases. They experience improved sleep quality. Their ability to concentrate, learn, and perform is enhanced. The third objective, top design trends. In this objective, we'll explain the trends we're seeing in terms of daylight and fresh air in residential design. We'll touch on each of these and discuss how skylights can help achieve what contemporary homeowners want. Daylight and fresh air are trends in their own right, ones we have seen homeowners want more in recent years. Not only do natural lighting and ventilation help with home energy costs, but they also provide direct access to nature. And bringing the outside in is also a big trend we've seen over the past few years. As we've already talked about in this presentation, incorporating the trends of daylight and fresh air can help with homeowners' health and performance. Including skylights specifically gives homeowners better access to views and improves the daylight conditions in the home. Lastly, the improvement of daylight conditions helps homeowners get more out of the interior decor trends that change more frequently than home design trends. While both artificial and natural lighting can cause slight color changes to decor throughout the day, natural light is the one that will consistently give you the truest version of the color used. Now, let's talk about a few other ways skylights can contribute to this trend of natural light and fresh air in your designs. As a stylist, I harp about natural light all the time. It's what makes a great shot, but it's also what makes a home feel happier. Brighter, the applications are endless too. You can bring light into places where windows couldn't go. You can brighten up your stairwell. You can eliminate dark corners and weird shadows, which will make your home feel lighter and more open. Emily Henderson, interior designer and stylist. Even before the pandemic, flexible space in residential homes were increasingly sought after by homeowners. Now, with telecommuting and homeschooling happening more than ever before, incorporating a flexible space for a home office, home classroom, or even a home gym into your residential designs gives you the opportunity to offer more space and versatility to homeowners. You can also see this as a challenge to incorporate more space into your floor plans. Will a reading nook fit off the entryway? Or perhaps you can fit a game room between the kitchen and the backyard, or a home office space under the stairs. Another trend we're seeing in natural residential lighting is a concept known as borrowed light. Creating an overall brighter floor plan can be challenging when you have exterior rooms blocking interior spaces. Without space for vertical windows, some interior spaces may even be impossible to light naturally. By incorporating skylights into the exterior rooms, the interior spaces next to them can borrow natural light through the skylight. This can help spread the natural light throughout the house and create a brighter, more energy-efficient floor plan overall. Borrow light ties in neatly with our next trend, all-season rooms. This includes closed-in sunrooms and covered porches. What's interesting about this design trend is we often see the all-season room as an extra room. But with outdoor living becoming an essential part of our lives, these all-season rooms have become one of our favorite rooms in our homes. But when they add on a sunroom or covered porch, most homeowners don't anticipate the amount of natural light they'll lose in the surrounding rooms. You can preempt this and set your designs apart by incorporating this trend into the original design of the home and including skylights. As seen in the previous slide, we have established that skylights can offset the natural light lost to the interior of the home when added to the exterior all-season room. Venting skylights can also help prevent too much heat gain in closed-in sunrooms, as well as help create better fresh air movement in covered porches. I love modern architecture, but it's such a trigger word. I think it means something different to every person. To me, it was about clean lines, simplicity in design, openness, and a connection through the windows and the skylights to the outdoors. Amy Matthews, designer of the 2021 This Old House Modern Barn House. The tiny home trend isn't as new as some of the others we talked about, but it has been a consistent trend in recent years, and it's evolving. Take, for example, this tiny tower designed by Philadelphia-based architectural firm Interface Studio Architects. Being designed for an inner-city district rather than somewhere rural already makes it stand out from what we normally think of tiny homes. This tiny home measures just under 38 feet tall, but makes smart use of spacing and angles to maximize the interior utility and natural light throughout. 2020 had an interesting effect on every business and industry, particularly the architectural industry. Whether we like it or not, the pandemic is already reshaping our ideas of future homes to emphasize wellness, hygiene, and work-life balance. Additionally, this has created a renewed sense of appreciation for domestic space. At the end of March 2020, Dwell, an inspiration platform for architects and designers, interviewed New York architects on how they think the pandemic has us rethinking home design. These are some of their predictions. Creating environments that are comforting, efficient, and safe, focusing on design issues stressing self-sufficiency, flexibility, sustainability, health, wellness, hygiene, underscoring the importance of new hybrid HVAC technologies, underscoring the importance of investing in sustainable and resilient infrastructures, emphasis on continued reliance on large-scale appliances and internet connection, increased emphasis on health, wellness, and hygiene. We won't see a rise in sterile-looking environments. Most importantly, we will see a rise in natural light, natural ventilation, and a connection to green spaces and landscape. Again, bringing the outdoors in. As we continue to help clients create sustainable, resilient homes, we expect then an increasing number of residents will be designed for health and wellness. Natural light and whole home ventilation through skylights will be an important part of that. In this sense, we are working together to not only go with the flow, but to direct it to everyone's benefit and well-being. Nathan Kipnis, founder and principal of Kipnis Architecture and Planning. And now for our last objective, design inspiration. In this section, we will look first at the Smith residence, an active house designed with skylights to create a healthier space and an overall more energy-efficient home. We will also go through some before and after 3D renderings of residential spaces with skylights. The goal with these images is to offer some inspiration and show just how many design options skylights can offer. The main design inspiration I'll touch on is the first active house in America, located in St. Louis, Missouri. The active house is a craftsman-style home based on the idea that comfortable and healthy living conditions are compatible with sustainable and energy-efficient construction. The active house concept is a holistic specification, meaning it takes into account everything involved with a house. I always say that our first impression when we moved into the house was an excellent air environment. One of the nicest aspects about the house was the incredible amount of daylight which we get into the house. Rarely do we turn on the lights in the house during the day. David Smith, father of the family who lives in the active house. Building a house with active house principles means taking energy, environment, and resident comfort into consideration. These principles ensure a comfortable home with positive effects on the senses, concentration, and health. Skylights, both venting and fixed, are an integral part of the holistic approach of the active home concept. Here you see the two cross sections that show the proper placement of the skylights. These floor plans of the active house show the skylight placement throughout the home, as well as the daylight distribution that shows a comparison without skylights and with skylights. Here are the daylight visualizations without skylights and with skylights. The difference is exponential. With a two-story design like the active house, the stairwell becomes an essential part of the home from the holistic standpoint. Here are two reasons why. First, the stairwell is the natural chimney within our home. Earlier, we discussed the importance of the stack effect and what positive impacts it can have on your designs and the people who will be building and living in them. By adding a venting skylight at the top of the stairwell, you have created the most efficient ventilator within your home, and all done naturally. Second, stairwells are hard to light up artificially. Remember, we see better in natural light, and as we get older, one of our biggest fears is falling. With the addition of a venting skylight above, you get an abundance of natural light pouring down into the stairwell. The daylight visualization to the left is without a skylight, and now with a skylight. Now we'll take a look at the different rooms in the active house with and without skylights. Moving away from the active house, here are a few more before and after images that show the difference skylights make in a home and how they can inspire. This concludes the course and is the end of our formal CES content. Before I let you go, I want to take a moment to share a bit more about Velux, the sponsor for this course, and our commitment to sustainability through our project, Lifetime Carbon Neutral. Velux has partnered with the Worldwide Fund for Nature, or WWF International, as part of our commitment to be lifetime carbon neutral by 2041. In addition to reducing our future carbon emissions, we plan to invest in forest conservation to capture the equivalent of our historical CO2 emissions over our 100-year lifetime. We partner with WWF to restore and conserve forests because they know where new trees are needed and where old ones should be preserved. We see this as the most efficient way to capture carbon from the air while safeguarding global biodiversity. Launched in 2020, our sustainability strategy is a 10-year transformational journey in which we pioneer climate and nature action, innovative sustainable products, and secure responsible business. Why? Because the world needs it, and it is who we are. In other words, it's our nature. The Velux Sustainability Strategy 2030, made up of these components that you see on the screen, is our roadmap for a decade of action. It significantly transforms the way we do business and the products and solutions we bring to the market. As I mentioned before, our pioneering commitment is to become lifetime carbon neutral by 2041. This means taking responsibility for our past and future carbon emissions. It also means showcasing sustainable buildings and communities to help inspire others to take action and lead the change in global corporate climate action. This concludes the overall presentation. Again, I want to thank you for your valuable time to listen and see why skylights. Velux would love to assist you with your future projects. If you are interested, please call 1-800-888-3589 and customer service will get you in touch with one of our local reps and they will assist you. Have a great day.